Happy holidays from Bloodbath and beyond. Today we review Krampus the Reckoning. He knows when you've been naughty.
Directed by Robert Conway, starring Monica Engesser, Amelia Haberman, James Ray, and William Bill Connor as Krampus. This movie's about Zoe, a young girl with an imaginary friend, who isn't imaginary at all. It's actually Krampus, the Christmas devil himself. Now it's up to a couple detectives and a psychologist to figure out who's burning all these people, because everyone's just burning up on the block. It's crazy. Before we get into things, we are gonna spoil this one. It's been out for like 5 years, and it's pretty notorious now for being one of the worst Krampus movies. And so I think we'd like to dive deeper into maybe why that could be. But we do have some likes, so let's start with those. I liked the practical effects. There were some practical effects. There's a young girl who has half her face burned. We see a couple different burns throughout the movie that look pretty solid.
Yeah, like there is that like bubbling skin effect that you see from our victims, which did look pretty good.
I liked our psychologist.
I'm a child psychologist, so I'm the kind of doctor that helps kids out when they've been through some scary stuff.
She was trying her damnedest.
At what? Acting or doing her job?
Both things. She is a child psychologist, so you need to have patience. And the detectives are like, people are burning, you need to get in there. We think Zoe has something to do with this. And she tries so hard, but like, Zoe's not budging because she's an evil little bitch.
I'd like to know what happened to them.
They were bad. Now they're gone.
How are they gone, Zoe?
He took them because they were bad. He always comes for the bad ones.
I will admit, I liked the My Pet Monster style of this film. The fact that Krampus was just a doll who had handcuffs, and as you take him off, he comes to life.
I loved My Pet Monster. And that's the first thing that I thought of too, right when I saw that. I'm like, oh no, Krampus is coming. I like that one guy in the bar.
Fuck off. That's my name.
The bad dad who set his kid on fire?
You saying it like that makes me sound evil. But yes, when he was just like talking to the detective, like, she's got a nice package there.
Man, you got a tight little package there.
I thought that was funny. Guys, I'm picking at straws here.
I'm surprised you don't like the unexpected nudity and sex scenes.
I did like the sex scenes. I did like the nudity. Yes, they were unexpected. Also unnecessary.
Especially like when Zoe's like creeping in on her foster parents. Like they were going hard.
Maybe even some P&V. I'd have to rewind it and see. Rewind it again and rewind it again.
Or when like Miles was going to mount like Rachel.
And then he turns into the Krampus. How cool is that?
You knew it was happening, but it was still a cool scene seeing like Krampus over top of her. And he stole her heart, literally.
Now what didn't we like?
I think the biggest problem I have with this film, it just didn't feel like a Christmas movie, and it didn't have that like naughty or nice list thing. Like that's what you want in like the Krampus style of movies.
I would agree. They threw in some Christmas lights in like the hospital and that was it. Like nothing else was Christmas oriented. Like, aside from like a quick intro scene and maybe like a couple lines here and there, we're more festive than this movie was.
And then of course the story was just god awful. Like it was very, very predictable. And the fact that when they make their like big reveal of our psychologist Rachel, who is actually like Zoe's sister and the reason Krampus is around, to show it 3 times, we got it the first time.
Yes, so like it is a weird plot and it could have been done way better if we didn't guess it immediately. And it's not that we even had to guess hard, it's they made it so damn evident. Like the moment Rachel goes and like meets with a foster parent of Zoe's.
Shit, she sure was that way 20 years ago when she came to stay with us.
There must be some mix-up. I'm talking about Zoe Weaver.
The blonde-haired devil child.
And then there's still another 40 minutes left of the movie. Once you have a scene like that, nothing else is going to be important. It seemed like the pacing just completely slowed down. We didn't see Krampus for a good half hour or 40 minutes in the movie, and it's just Rachel kind of going around trying to figure out what's happening. The problem with it is that little things, like little conversations to get Rachel from point A to point B took too long. A great example is when she's trying to look up Zoe on the computer and she's talking to somebody on the phone and she's trying to give her information.
The address is 860 North Range Road. Looks like it's in a town called Riley.
She literally like read out numbers for like 5 minutes and she just kept going. It's just like, okay, we don't need this. You need to say one thing, she doesn't exist, and then move on to the next scene.
The only Zoe Weaver that comes back is from a case in 1992.
This is crazy. I'm gonna send you the link right now.
And then when she finally has her like actual evidence that Zoe isn't who she says she is.
Can I get a picture of this?
Sure.
She doesn't even bring this information to the detective, who probably should know this, like, stuff. Because he's looking for a clue, he's looking for evidence, he needs something. And she's like, I have everything you need, but I'm not gonna tell you. And there's no reason why she shouldn't have told him.
Well, she thought she would sound crazy.
She had hard proof.
I know, like a photograph taken Zoe 20 years ago when she looked the exact same as she does now suggests that something's off with Zoe. So yes, the story is convoluted. It's not necessarily bad. Like, I did like the story, but like it wasn't delivered in a great way. We start off, we're seeing this like terrible CG Krampus walking around burning people up, and then it just stops. And then you don't see him till like there's a dream sequence where he's banging her or ripping her heart out. Sorry.
Well, we did have that one moment where he killed the...
Oh yeah, the nurse, they continuously were telling us that he was a bad guy, and you're like, oh, maybe he's just on the dark web like downloading Young and the Restless, the soap opera, not the terabytes of kiddie porn that they told us later.
Child porn?
Terabytes of the stuff.
God.
I wish they told us why he was bad before he died so we could be on board with it.
Prior to this scene, he was like the nicest nurse in the hospital. There was no reason for us to believe he was a bad guy.
But I liked him. I mean, we all did.
It seems like they just added that, so they're like, oh fuck, we forgot to say why he was a bad guy. But it didn't matter, because Zoe was a bad guy too.
Ashley said that you made her cry, that you called her ugly.
She is ugly.
I just didn't like her character. I didn't like a lot of things about the characters in this film and the acting that took part with these characters as well.
Hey, Rachel, I really think I should probably go.
I love this one.
I don't know, it was hard to get behind some of the other characters. Well, I did like Rachel. I didn't like her enough, I guess. I didn't like anyone enough. The lieutenant was a drunk. It didn't seem like he cared about the case at all.
What?
What are you doing here?
I was in the neighborhood and then
So why he was even involved in the first place didn't make sense to me.
I was really disappointed in not just the amount of Krampus screen time, but the lack of what Krampus was doing. I get it, he's just a 3D model, but he just stood there the whole time. I would have taken a guy in a costume or anything, just more Krampus running amok, but it just didn't happen.
And I think a big part of this too probably comes down to the fact that they didn't even stick with the Krampus lore. The point of Krampus is to punish naughty kids. Zoe's the naughtiest person I know. Bag her up. Krampus usually like takes kids and then punishes them. Like, that's a thing.
Yeah, it doesn't burn them to a crisp. I felt as though this was a script for like a demon or a devil or something like that, and they're like, oh, let's market it to Krampus because the like legit Krampus movie came out in the same year.
I think the thing was, Krampus wasn't like a big deal at the time. People like us wouldn't have known about this. We'd be like, oh, so Krampus walks around and he burns people up. But unfortunately, there's been a half a dozen at least that came out in the next couple years after that all broke down the lore significantly better than this did. And it just wasn't good. And he looked like shit. Like, the CG is absolutely terrible.
I didn't think it was possible to have something worse than Mother Krampus. She was a witch, but here we are.
But this also has like sequels. There is a guy in a costume. We watched the trailers afterwards by the same director and or producer. The Unleashed one kind of looks like the best one. So if you're looking for one, maybe check that out.
This one, oh God, it is just awful. The pacing, this is what, an hour and 20 minutes, and it felt like a 3-hour film.
Yeah, it definitely felt like it took forever.
I got more enjoyment watching the Christmas Oreo ads on Tubi than watching this film.
And on that note, let's go to our final thoughts and ratings. Krampus the Reckoning was actually worse than I thought it was gonna be. You see this cheesy CGI Krampus and you're like, well, this should be fun to laugh at. And it wasn't even. It wasn't a so bad it's good kind of movie, and that's really unfortunate because you kind of think that going in. But at the same time, I was totally willing for this to be a great movie, but that wasn't the case here. The CG Krampus isn't even the issue with this movie. It's the delivery of the story, the acting, and just every scene just kind of drags on for a very long time without necessarily needing to even exist in the first place.
It would be too much trouble to ask you for some aspirin.
Not at all. I got some upstairs.
But I will say that there was some reasonable practical effects. But unfortunately, the rest of this stuff was just not good, and I can't really give this better than half a cock painting out of 5.
It's Christmas time, and I'm in the mood for a Krampus movie. So I thought, why not? Fuck. I can't. I really can't. I was so disappointed in this movie. As bad as the CG, like 3D Krampus model is, I would have appreciated it if it was running around and kidnapping people instead of just showing up and then we get a burnt corpse. Yes, the burning effects did look good, but everything else in this film was not enjoyable. I did not enjoy any of our characters. I did not enjoy the story. It didn't feel like a Christmas movie whatsoever. Lore, look, characters, atmosphere, nothing brought me into the holiday spirit, and I feel like a Grinch for saying it. With that being said, I gotta give this film 0.5 tucking your kids into bed the hard way out of 5.
As always, thank you for watching. Like this video and comment below with your thoughts on the film if you've seen it. If you haven't, do want to check it out. Links are in the description. And if it's your first time here, make sure you subscribe to the channel to stay up to date with everything Bloodbath and beyond.